Welcome back to the Motion Podcast. Today I'm here with Myles, and today we're talking about the unlived lives that we carry every single day. We call that the possible versions of ourselves. Whether you realize it or not, you carry those versions of yourself with you every single day. That can either be a good or bad thing, because we can either take the risk, take the challenges to push us into the person we want to be, or we can live with regret and fear and wish we were somewhere where we're not. So that's what we're talking about today. So like I said before, we carry multiple versions of ourselves, which can be the ideal self, so the person that you wish to be, the person you are visualizing and wishing that you were, and the person that you want to become. There's also the person that you think you should be, like the person that you get told by everyone who you should be, and the feared self, so the person you're terrified of becoming, that's someone that you don't wish to be. So every choice either strengthens one and kills the other, or you're feeding this illusion of something that you don't want to be as well. Every choice either strengthens a version of yourself that you wish to become, or it kills another, and we can either grieve that, or we can wish we were somewhere we're not, and that can either push us forward or can either hold us back. And male and females obviously experience it differently. So in your opinion, what do you think is the difference between males and females when they try to achieve this ideal version of themselves?
So I think obviously males and females, they're driven towards different things. So I think a male would do it, say for instance, if they were going towards a goal, they wanted to, I don't know, say every kid in high school, maybe they play footy or soccer or whatever, and then they get injured. I think a lot of people might hold on to what if I just didn't get injured and I could have kept playing, you know what I mean? Stuff like that I think is a very common thing with people under over the age of maybe 18 or 20 that thought they were going to become a professional soccer player or AFL player or some shit like that, and then maybe they get a ACL tear or something, and then they're fucked for 2 years, and then they don't get that goal that they thought they were going to get, and they were holding on to that end goal or identity for so long, and then it gets stripped away, and then they just hold on to that for the rest of their life and be now I have to live this life because of that. What if that didn't happen? I would have had this life, I would have been like this, I would have been like that. So that's kind of an example, I think, of a male. There's quite a few, obviously, even with me. Maybe when you learn things and you're hard on yourself over time, say when I was working 2 jobs and running 2 businesses and stuff, I thought I was a hero doing all this different stuff. Now I've pulled back from both jobs. I've pulled back from my other business, and I'm literally just going to get one full-time job and run Motion. And it pisses me off knowing that I should have just fucking done this 8 months ago, but because I thought this was the way to live and this was the way I need to be. The
version of yourself that was nah, this is the only way that I can achieve.
So that's an example of 2 of those people in the that psychology, thinking who you need to be and then thinking about who you could have been. So I thought I needed to be this person, so I was acting like someone that isn't me because I thought this is what this person would be doing.
Yeah.
So that's why all these versions will always exist within you, but you just have to learn to
and you get to
navigate them. Yeah, so and they can be a massive detriment to you. It's very easy for me to now sit here and be oh, for fuck's sakes, I wasted so much time trying to be this person that I'm not, or not trying to be this person that I'm not, trying to achieve what I wanted to achieve, but in the way that is the most least optimal, but just because it was the hardest and the most I guess sexy sounding route. I work 2 jobs, I run 2 businesses, I'm fucking so hard. Different.
Yeah.
It's a lot different to then someone saying, oh yeah, I just work a full-time job and run my business. One sounds like you're fucking on top of the world, and the other one sounds he's just building a side gig, he's not really trying. But that other person is probably doing a lot more than the person trying to do everything but nothing.
Yeah.
So that's an example of I guess 2 of those. I think with females it's a bit different. Not necessarily always in a performance way. It can be, but I think females care more about health or wellness or something. Say for Marleah, she didn't have a period for 4 years. I think it pisses her off that she wishes she knew what she knows now back then. But she kind of went through this 4-year period where she just stayed at a negative body fat with fucking shredded legs and abs all year round, and just held on and held on and held on and held on, then did a bodybuilding prep. And then she had to go through a bodybuilding prep for her to realize holy fuck, this is so bad. I feel like shit all the time. I have no energy. I have nothing. I'm just what's it called? Forcing my way through every day. Instead of actually living the day, you're just kind of forcing yourself to be someone.
I'm not.
Torturing yourself almost in a way.
when I had to like let go of like the bodybuilding identity, I thought I'm losing a bit of myself because you hold on to that version of yourself for so long. But I feel that women often, they want to feel some sort of like, how do you explain it? Like they don't want to be judged. So they want to please, they want to be like pleasing people. They want to be accepted. And if they go a different way, they feel like they're going to be judged or looked at differently. And I think for women, it can be quite different. And we want to feel empowered, we want to feel strong. We also want to trust ourselves. I think women are more intuitive, so they like to listen to their gut, and they're very emotional people. So I feel when you're not in tune with that, it's really hard to live the life that you want, because you're not really sure what you want, because you're too busy doing everything for everyone else and pleasing people and not living in intuition and not living with your cycle. So it can be quite hard for women, I think.
Yeah, so I think well, anyone listening to this podcast will deal with exactly basically what we just said. Maybe not in the exact same way. Maybe it's like the fear of like failing, or the fear of what you could have been if you did this or did that. And this is why certain periods of your life, when you're, say, like 5 years ago, it feels like you're a whole different person compared to now. Like it doesn't feel like you are the same at all. It doesn't feel like anything. It feels like a completely disconnected person, because that's actually a different type of version of you. You know what I mean? It sounds like obviously kind of generic, but like it kind of is like that. And that person would have acted differently based off what thoughts they were feeding themselves, or what they wanted to be, or what they thought they wanted to be. So for example, like I kind of think I'm coming out of that weird period where I thought I'm still going to obviously like work a lot, but just not work on 5 different things at once to try sound like I'm doing a lot. But that feels like a whole different person when I think about that, Myles. Like I've said it before on this podcast, like I just had like a huge ego. I thought I was like this and like that. And then it's kind of like embarrassing looking back at it, because you're like, holy fuck, what were you thinking, bro? Like, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people...
But you're so tunnel vision that you don't... you just like, I don't care.
Yeah, you don't give a fuck. You don't think that anything's wrong. You think that nobody understands. You think this is how it is and this is who you are, and like everyone else is below you kind of thing. I wasn't like that, but I mean like...
That's how it can come across.
Yeah, it's how it can come across. But in my head, I was just kind of like so tunnel vision on what I was doing that I didn't think or do anything other than than that. And I was just constantly on overdrive, like every day, all day, just hopping between 5 different jobs at once, like just basically forcing myself to be under stress and be busy. And now I look at that, I'm like, holy fuck, that's like a whole different version of me. Like I don't even recognize that version. I'm like, it's just a dumb, unfocused version of me. But in that period, you thought that you were so focused.
Yeah, I feel like people, there's always like a shit period before it gets better, I feel like, you know?
Yeah,
I think
transition.
I think for me, I was the same. Like I had such a big ego, and I was like, I don't need to do any of that stuff. Like that's so boring. Like that's cringy. Why would I do that? Like I look fine. It's not my training. It's not this. So like I had a big wall up of like, it's like of that. And I think that was what was holding me back. And the same with you and your business, like you with that mindset was actually holding you back from your business. And I think having to pull back from motion made you realize like a lot of things and what you had to focus on, because
well, I had to fail, innit? I had to fail.
That's
first.
what I mean.
Like, I had to just like keep getting punched in the face, and that's what kept happening to me. Like,
yeah, you had to go through that. You always learn like a lesson, and I think it's testing you for a reason to look deeper in yourself and realize like what you need to do. And I think for me, that was me with bodybuilding and living that lifestyle of, you know, being in my masculine all the fucking time, and being really dominant as a person, and just pushing through and striving and keep going and pushing. And it wasn't till like obviously after prep when I realized like, oh shit. And that was a lesson that I needed to learn as well. And that's where you can have that grief of missing a certain version of yourself. Like there's sometimes where I'm like, do I miss bodybuilding? But you can't always get rid of those parts of yourself, you know. And
I feel like all those parts of yourself will talk to you in like every, like, so.
Yeah, it's just learning how to talk to those parts of yourself.
No, but I feel like, say for example, like with what happened with me in motion, like every single part of that, those like 3 or 4 personality traits or like types of me, like the fear of failure, like all these things, that is all going to talk to me in that period. I could easily give up and not do it. I could easily like think that, oh, I just want my old life back. I just want to go back to full-time work and never run a business because of how good it was then. The past is always going to feel better than it is. People need to realize that you're only going to remember and think of the good things because your brain wants to go back to comfort, and what has already happened, that's already comfortable. So like, there's, I think, a few like versions of yourself that you're going to hold on to. Maybe a few periods in your life where like, you're like, oh my God, life was so good then, but it wasn't any different to it is now. You were probably just in like a very low stressed period in your life. And that doesn't always mean that that's the best time of your life, you know? Like your brain's naturally going to want you to go back to what feels comfortable, what feels normal. And when obviously I'm going through this massive period and I have a massive kind of ego and I think that I'm going to win everything and I'm going to be the best and I'm going to beat everyone, like kind of mindset, you constantly, things will happen in your life and you'll, like with me, I just failed and failed again and failed again and failed again and just keep basically getting punched in the face until you realize like, well, clearly what I'm doing isn't working. And then you kind of have all your voices kind of talking to you, being like, just go back to the way life was before. Like you're scared, just be fear, like don't do this, it's too hard. Like it's scary, you're going to fail. Or you have the ego version of yourself telling you like, nah, this is what you've got to do. Like you got to be like this, you got to be like that. And then obviously you've got your actual self-intuition. And that's the hardest thing to listen to because you've got all this noise in your head telling you to go here, go here, go here. But what you need to be able to do in all life, not just business, it doesn't matter about business. I'm just explaining in a way that people would understand it, maybe. I listened to myself and like kind of understood like, well, clearly what I've been doing and how I've been thinking is wrong. So I'm not going to stop. There's only one way that I need to go, and it's listening to like, what do I really think will work? Not what does my ego tell me I need to do because that'll make me look cool to other people. Yeah. Like if I was to strip away everything about looking like this or being perceived like this, what would that person do? Yeah. And that's kind of where you have to, it's hard to get to it. And it took me 8 months in that period to go through that. And it will happen again and again and again because it's very easy to get trapped in like trying to be someone or trying to portray yourself as someone that you're not because...
But it's such a good way to look at it because... your ego does hold you back. Like not just all the time. Like everyone has like an ego and everyone has something in them that is telling them to do something that they know is wrong. But like you said, it's your intuition is the best thing. Like the more you get in tune and listen to what you know is better for you deep down, the more that you can trust yourself and be like, okay, I made the decision and I didn't fail. I made this decision and I didn't, you can handle the decision that you've made. Every decision you make is just either a step forward or a lesson. You don't fail from any lesson. Like it's just you either learn or you grow.
But I think a lot of people will listen to their ego because your ego will protect you. So for me, an example of my ego protecting me there is I'm doing 5 jobs. So if a drop fails, the drop fails because I'm doing 5 jobs. It's like an excuse in my head. I'm like, oh, it's failing because look how much I'm doing, bro. Yeah. How different is it to say, oh yeah, I'm working a full-time job. All my time now outside of the full-time job is focused on the business and it's still failing. That's a different type of
because
that's
now
like a punch in the gut. It's a punch in the gut. It's like you're failing because you're not good enough. Whereas before, I'm telling myself I'm failing because of the circumstances I've put myself in and I have to grind like this and I have to get 5 hours of sleep. So my ego is like protecting you from failure. So it's like, it's very hard to, I guess, like speak and listen to your intuition and only that. But the best way for me to tell people, are you listening to intuition is you need to strip back. Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing what you're doing to look a certain way or be perceived a certain way? Because if you are, then that's your ego speaking. That's not your intuition.
The next topic we're talking about is relationships. So not just like romantic relationships, but even like your friends, your family, like those sort of relationships as well. They can create a better version of yourself or kill like parts of yourself as well. So the partner you choose will literally shape your environment. It shapes who you become.
In a bad or like a good way. And same with your friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So like to me, again, same sort of thing. I guess it's the whole fucking point of this shit, but... Like, have you ever had, like, say, a best friend for, like, say, like, 6 to 8 years, and then you think, like, after not being friends with them, maybe, like, something happened. you kind of look back at it and you're like, holy fuck, like what the fuck was I doing? Like why was I friends with this person? I was so different. Like now I would never ever get along with that person. I'd never be friends with them. Like I'm so different. I'm so this, I'm so that. It's like a past version of yourself that like you've either learned from, or you're resenting and being like I wish I was still friends with that person. Like, you know what I mean? Like we had such good times, but they fucked me off and stopped hanging out with me because they're too cool. There's a lot of ways that like, I guess, like, and that happens with relationships as well. Sometimes people are like, can't believe I dated that person. Can't believe I did this. Can't believe I did that. And it's because you're like a whole different person. Like your brain is wired so differently now to when it was then. But that again is also why people will hold on to past relationships and hold on to this stuff, because they're like, oh my God, like life was so good then. Life was so good with that person. Life was like this. Because they're not listening to their intuition. They're just listening to what their ego or what one of those versions of themselves are telling them. Like, that's why people say, for instance, get cheated on, or, you know, sometimes people get in like abusive relationships and they just keep going back
because they don't think it's not that bad, or
they're listening to like the comfortability, like the comfort of like, yeah, but I know what he's like. Like it's like, well, I know what she's like.
We know how we work and stuff.
So it's like, it's comfortable and easy to almost stay in the position than just remove yourself and then go out alone again. You're scared to be alone. So like, there's a lot of things that where your past self will kind of can creep in and make it worse or make it better.
Yeah. For example, like in high school, obviously we've spoken about it before, but there was just like, I always just stuck to one person in high school because I wasn't allowed to hang out with other people. I wasn't allowed to do my own thing. And when I did, it was seen as wrong. And if I hung out with someone else, I'd always get put down for it. And I never could have my own friends. So I would just be so obsessed with like making sure like I'm never doing anything wrong. I was always anxious coming to school because I thought they'd be mad at me if I talked to someone else or did all that thing. And it was really, really exhausting. And it wasn't until like I left high school and cut them off that I was like, holy shit, like I had such a bad high school experience because I let someone control my whole high school experience because they were allowed to do what they wanted, but when I did what I wanted, it was looked down upon. And that's why sometimes when I do my own thing, I get scared because I still kind of like hold on to that and be like, oh, like if I do my own thing, it's seemed as like selfish. And I'm scared people are going to put me down because I always used to get put down in high school for doing my own thing. But it's not till people in high school that I talk to now and they're like, Marleah, like you were such a nice person, but you let that person control you with everything you did. So it really like opened my eyes to be like, I don't want someone to control me again. And I want to have my own life and live my own life. But yeah, that's how relationships can either kill you or create your reality.
Yeah, but it's also like...
But you can hold on to that as well because you're carrying that version of yourself into other relationships and other friendships because you think, what if they do that to me? I'm scared they're going to do that to me. So you obviously carry that on to like... And
you're still living that life.
Yeah, you're holding on to the past version of yourself. In some relationships, you feel like a different self. And like you said, that's why old relationships feel like a different life because there's like different... Obviously, there's different lifestyles that you both live, but they can either grow with you and support you, or they can either put you down and not want to be a part of your life. Right. You can either choose to grow with them, or they can choose to grow with you, or you can learn to let them go, which can be really hard because you may really love that person, but making that decision to let them go is better for both of you because you know in 5 years' time you probably won't be in the same position.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's probably either holding you back, not in a bad way, like you can still like grieve and miss someone, but understanding that two different people and you need to go separate lives. And it doesn't have to be like a bad thing. It can just be like as you just guys didn't work out. But there can also be like tension and like long-term commitment with someone because you are both trying to become your own people and become the person that you want to be. And that can either create conflict or it can make you guys stronger and just accept who you guys are. And I think there was a period where Myles and I were a bit different and we kind of clashed a lot and we grew apart quite a bit because we were both becoming different people, but we weren't understanding or supporting each other in becoming the people that we wanted. So I think it kind of held both of us back in some way to become who we wanted to be. And
I think we're very similar at the start when we first dated. And then I went through prep, and I think prep just like changed me like a lot. Like it just, I was talking about it the other day with Marleah, like it just like kind of changed how I thought of the world. I was kind of like, I don't know what it did, but it put like almost like this anger kind of like fuel where I was like, I want to do all this because I feel like I've wasted like 6 months. Because when you're in bodybuilding prep, you're like so depleted, you're so tired, can't think, you can't do much, and not much else in your life, in my opinion, will like really do well unless you're very experienced in bodybuilding. If it's your first time, it's probably pretty hard to like mimic how you would act out of prep compared to into prep. So when I went into prep, it slowed my life down a lot and the progress in my life in all other aspects, and I kind of like got mad at it. And I was like, when I came out, I was like, I had this like anger or like burning passion where I was like, I just wanted to like do everything that I couldn't do in prep. And I wanted and for about 3 or 4 months, it kind of lasted when I started doing motion, where I just like, I said before, I was in like the thick of just like working like myself to the floor. Like if I felt like shit waking up the next day, I was like actually happy. Like it made me happy. I was like, that. I would say it to people, I'd be like, if I feel like shit waking up the next day, like that is so fucking good. That's the best thing. And I would like, I would self-sabotage myself like constantly. But I thought that it was like hustle. I thought it was grind, but it was nothing other than just destroying yourself because of like, I think it was a bit of like, I don't know, like prep did a lot of like damage, I think, to me, like mentally. It kind of like screwed how I looked at myself, how my body image was, like all these different things. And I kind of think I channeled like a lot of anger and stuff into like my life and like wanting to progress. And I thought like, I'm just going to accelerate, like max accelerate for like as long as I can. And like by the end of that, I'm going to be a whole different person. I'm going to blow up my business. Everything's going to work. And then I did that. But I kind of like neglected like everything in my life. I neglected my whole family. I neglected like Marleah. I neglected a lot of things because I was just so like ego driven. And so like, because of a period of a time in my life that I felt so held back, I kind of like had this like massive surge of just like, I want to be everything but that. And I kind of just neglected and resented everything and just went all in on one thing.
And I think in prep, like you said, you were held back because you wanted to be someone else.
Yeah.
You were like visualizing your ideal self to become that person.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it was probably the best time for me to figure out what I wanted to do. And I think I was becoming the version of myself I wanted to become. And then after prep, I think there was like a lot of tension because I was a different person and you were kind of, I think because you were too tunnel vision, you didn't realize until after. And it kind of made you think like, what the hell? Like Marleah's like gone the other way, and we were similar at the start. So
yeah, because I thought like, because I was so like, I don't know, I just thought Marleah like operated the same as me, like the exact same, and then she didn't, and I was working like these insane. I still work a lot of hours, but like I was doing this dumb shit, like working 2 jobs, running 2 businesses, like running a podcast and doing my YouTube, like doing a lot of things. And Marleah wasn't doing that. And I was like, wait, like what? Like, how are you not doing this? This is what you need to do. Because I'm like, if you don't do this, like you're not going to get anywhere. Because I'm going to overtake you. I'm like, I'm the overtake you. And then I kind of thought like, I was like, but she's part of what I'm doing. Like, so she's holding me back. And I'm like, no one's going to hold me back anymore. I just got held back in prep. And I kind of like started like, I was working myself up a lot. And then
because we were doing motion together, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not doing motion anymore.
What me and Marleah are, we both run a videography business. This is a kind of off topic, but I'm just going to talk about it
But
anyway.
it is because we
grew apart and then
we had this ideal version of, well, I knew you were you, but I think maybe you had this ideal version of me that you thought was me.
No, it wasn't that. I think we both had an ideal version of what our lives were going to look like, and it was just completely separate.
Yeah, because...
And we were both like you wanted this and I wanted this.
Yeah.
And because of the way I was, it was like so overshadowing like what you were doing. And I was like, no, you're going to be like what I want you to be like. Like, you're going to be like this. And I was just very stressed out all the time, especially when it came to like
I could feel it.
like doing campaigns. I was so on edge, and I remember we'd sit down and I just consistently feel unproductive, like all the time. Like I was like, I'm so far behind because I was just visualizing who I wanted to be. And I just neglected even myself. Like I wasn't so much just neglecting Marleah, I just neglected like me. Like I didn't give a fuck about me. I felt good if I felt like shit because I felt like I was getting closer to that ideal self. And that's the only thing I thought of. That's the only thing I cared about. And I was like, that's who you're going to be. At the end of the year, that's who you're going to be this year. That's who you're going to be. No one else. And I was just like, neglected everything. Me, Marleah, everything. And it kind of like, I guess, shut Marleah down for a while. And then I was like, okay, I think when I started to coming to my senses a little bit, the first thing I was like, all right, well, maybe I just do motion by myself. That was like the first thing I said. I was like...
Yeah, okay, well, do you want to give context?
What?
Like we were doing it... I mean, you kind of did, but we were doing it together, but your pace and how you operated was so different to mine that it almost like clashed and it made it worse because we operate so differently. We operate so differently that it was never going to work. So...
But I don't think it would have worked with anyone in that period because I didn't have respect like for myself. That's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't like so much like Marleah. It was like, I wasn't even thinking about myself. I was just like... the visualization of who I wanted to be, that's the only person I cared about. And I was like, not even me in the point. So like, for example, like when we first went to do our second ever clothing brand drop, Marleah's like, oh, we'll sample. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. Just order straight away. Fuck that shit. And I was like, we're not doing that. We don't need to do that. I'm like, we just need to go. We need to start going. And that's me. I'm like self-sabotaging all my money as well. But I don't even care. I'm just like, nah, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And then after that, I slowly started to like realize like there was about like a 3-month period where I was just like balls to the wall. And then I slowly, things started to not work out. Like the bulk order came in, it was fucked. That was like the first punch in the gut of like, Marleah's like, should have sampled. And I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? And then slowly things started teaching me like different things. And then you kind of like learn from that, and then I slowly started to like come back to who I was before, like just slowly like little things. And then I kind of was like, I don't think that we should do motion together because I could see it was like affecting her, and I stopped caring about.
I was stressed to the max. Like I kind of resented it, and I couldn't understand why. I thought this is what I wanted to do. I was like, this is what I wanted to do though, like. But the vision was so different and we were clashing and I don't know how to really explain it.
The first drop we did, like when we first did that, we were fine, and then I had like a hint of success and I just like and it just like sent me, bro. I was like, because at that time I was still working the 2 jobs and running the videography business, and then I got the success and I was like, I knew this was what I needed to do. And then I kind of just went even more. And I was like working more on my other job late at night, remember? I started doing like 5 shifts a week until 1 a.m. instead of like 2. I was just like sending it. And then, just kind of after that, I was like, all right, I think we just do it. I just do it myself because I understood and I realized like what you want this to be, it's not going to be that. Like, and I was like, Marleah isn't this robot that's just going to do everything that you want her to do because this is the lifestyle that you want. And then I started realizing the lifestyle that you want, this isn't how you get there. You don't act like this. You don't do this because look at what the fuck's just happened the past 2.5 months. And I was like, okay. So like it kind of held back Marleah a lot. And that is like ties into this episode because I'm just so focused on that, like, I guess, ideal person that I thought I wanted to be, or like, this was the route that I thought I had to do to get to that person because I was trying to be that person now when I was nowhere near that person. Yeah,
but also me becoming the person that I wanted to be was holding me back as well. So we kind of like, we'll both, but I guess that's why we're not doing motion together. So
yeah, I think it's still better now to do it solo than to do it in a couple because I think me and Marleah we still work differently. Not in like a bad clashy way, it's just we do, and we have a different vision for it. But being okay with that and not holding on to what you think your life should look like is like where I had to wrap my head around. Because when me and Marleah first met, that's what we'd talk about.
We'd
like,
always talk about the same stuff.
Yeah, so
I was also, like, going back to before, like, holding on to that bodybuilding identity and that ego of me being, I have to push through, can't stop, can't slow down. And I think that's why prep was really good for both of us, for me to figure out myself, because I think if we just went straight into motion and I was going through what I went through, it would have actually probably pushed us further apart, because you would have been like, what the fuck is happening?
I think how you were at the start of your prep is how I was when I was building motion.
Yeah.
And that's when we first met. So I thought, like, that's who I thought Marleah was going to be like when we worked together. I'm like, oh yeah, like, I remember we'd talk and she was like this. So like,
what the fuck's happening?
I was kind of like, I need to match that, but I need to be like this. And this is what our life's going to look like, because this is what Marleah would always talk to me about. So like, I envisioned what my life would look like, and I was kind of like holding on to it, and then holding on to the fact of like, yeah, me and my girlfriend are going to do this, because we're so alike, and I like this and like this. I don't know if that made any sense to fucking anyone, but like...
No, yeah, but I think that's... Like, then we go back to podcasts and you can see like, we're like, oh, running a bit together is so good. Like,
yeah, I know.
I just like, I look back on it now and I think it's actually probably better to have differences in your relationship, because at the end of the day, I think it actually clashes more to be the same person. Because and I think your differences actually make you stronger. And I think you can actually become better people at the end of the day. And I think balancing each other out is probably the best thing to do. And me losing myself actually made me worse in my relationship, because I was down all the time. I couldn't sleep, had no fucking energy, and it actually made me like more resentful because I couldn't be who I wanted to be. And I think me trying to find myself again and doing the things that I love has actually made me a better person to be around as well. And I think you have to be like a partnership and like a team, and you have to work together and hold space for each other, and not just, you know, go all the time, but actually also supporting each other and, you know, supporting what the other person wants to do. And like I said before, if you don't want to do that, then it's not good for your relationship to hold on to, because you have to support the other person, what they want to do and who they want to become, and know like that's not what you want to do, but understanding that's what they want to do and supporting them in that, and understanding that you don't have to live the same life to be the perfect couple, because everyone's going to have their shit at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's how you communicate and how you hold space for each other when things are hard, and understanding and actually working together on things that when things are hard, instead of resenting each other and clashing, which is what we were doing, and just being really defensive all the time.
But I think, like Marleah said, even if what I thought our life was going to look like, and I was like, oh, it's going to look like this, it's going to look like that, I think now, even out of it, I'm like, it would never have worked, bro. If you had like that drive and that ego that I had, like, we would have broken up. Yeah, like, because you would never have bended, or you never would have done anything, and you would have been the same as me, and then it would have caused us both to like...
It would have been like...
Okay, just a mess, bro.
It would have just been like, who's doing more?
Yeah, it would have been like a big competition, and it would have turned into like, no, my way, and it would have been like a very like...
Which what it was turning into.
It kind of started to, because I think you started to fall back into that old self.
Yeah,
that go, because you thought, oh yeah, this is what I need to be like.
But then like I realized like it kind of was like a lesson, because it made me realize this is not who I want to be. Yeah. It was the period of my life where I thought, no, this is not who I want to be. This is not what I want to do. And in your, like you said, that you're going back to your gut instinct, like, you know, deep inside what's meant for you and what's not. And like, I just had like this resentment to doing the things that I needed to do. And I was like, I don't want to do them and I can't understand why. Then when I like stopped doing it, I was sleeping better. I was more energized. I could, you know, focus more on myself. And I think that made me realize, okay, like that resentment was my gut telling me that this is not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the peace of mind, we've been out of that period for a while now, though. Like, it's been a while. Yeah. Okay. What?
Yeah, it's been good. I think we're better, 100%.
No, but I think, like, I don't know, we're not what we, like, we weren't, I mean, it sounds like we're just talking about all the negative. Like, we had a lot of good times still.
No,
like,
I know, but
we're, like, I don't want to make this sound like our whole relationship's fucking dog shit, and we were still good, but I just think, like, then we were just focusing on all the bad shit.
We were just focusing on like the ideal version of what we thought.
Yeah. It was just when we were working on the brand together or doing anything related to work. Yeah. It was just like
business.
Yeah. And then when we moved out of it, it kind of got better like progressively each week. Like it just slowly like got better and better and better. And then now we're here, I guess, talking on the podcast. But I think the best thing we did was like remove relationship and business and just get rid of that.
So we'll move into choosing which self you want to become. So you get to feed what you want to become. So for example, with Myles, with Motion, he was feeding that reality of himself or that version of himself of running 2 businesses, having 2 jobs, and that was a version of himself that he was feeding and creating that reality. But that left you like tired as fuck, but you thought that was the best thing ever.
That took me like 2 months, I think, to recover from. I remember when I quit the late night job, like it took me like 2 months of like sleeping, and I was just wake up and I was just fucked like for like 2 months.
Yeah. So which parts of which parts of your ideal self can you imagine and visualize and start acting like that? Because being your ideal self is like energy. You create that energy to show up in your day to day, and that can look like just even going to the shops and acting differently or walking differently or showing up differently or speaking differently. That in itself is giving you proof that your ideal self exists, because everything is energy. As much people don't want to admit it, it's energy and how you create it. And that's the best way to explain it, because if you don't think it's possible, you're telling yourself that this reality isn't meant for you. You're telling yourself this isn't possible for me, and using statements as I'm never going to get there, or I wish I had this, I wish I had that. You have to stop using that in your vocabulary, because you're just reinforcing to yourself that you can't have that thing.
Or you're not that thing.
Yeah, you're not that thing, where, like I said, people don't want to admit it, but it's all energy, and you telling yourself like, I am this, I am that, you're feeding that into your brain to create a new pathway in your brain to start believing a different reality, and getting clear on your beliefs and understanding what the fuck is holding you back. Because what's holding you back from your reality, like the ego is definitely the big part in what's holding you back from your reality.
Like
and
perception
understanding
of other people and what they think of you. And I guess that's all ego, trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Your ego will always try to protect you from your own insecurities. So I guess in that moment of time, I was like very, like I said, insecure of like what people would see of me doing. So I tried to create this lifestyle and this person that was the complete opposite of that, to hide that sense of people thinking, oh, he's never going to make it, he's not done enough, or he's not doing enough type thing. So you just need to really be clear on like, why are you living your life the way you are? Are you doing it to please or to fit in or to hide a sort of like side of yourself? Or are you doing it with like resentment or anger towards maybe like a girlfriend that broke up with you and left you, like, and you're now acting like this or being like this in your life because you're so angry of what she did to you, or like so angry of like how she treated you. So you're purely acting off resentment and like built up anger over a period of time.
But that's why you have to feel it. If that version of yourself is still holding on to that, you're never going to move forward. So you have to almost forgive yourself for the past and let that go, because you holding on to those past versions of yourself, you're only going to attract people who are still like that old version of yourself. You're still going to attract relationships. You're still going to attract friendships of people that are similar to your wounds, because that's what you're attracting. That's the energy you're bringing into your life. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning into the Motion podcast. Hopefully you liked this one, and hopefully you learned something today about accepting who you are
and how fucking
hard it can be.
Different our life was even a few months ago, and just how listening to your intuition and yourself over your ego is what will push you forward the most. Yeah, listen to yourself, not listening to the ego, and creating that energy to be your ideal self. Bye.